No, bring your whole ego in the door. Sit it on the table and let everybody bask at the glory of how much energy, how much aura you got. Don't dim. The second thing is tether or align what it is that you bring, your gifts and your ability to whatever the team is there to accomplish. You are only in a team environment to be a contributor to the team, not to just be a star, especially at the expense of the project.
Stay Sharp, episode 31. I'm Jordan Ray, and joining me is my other half, Rashad Tyler.
Hey there.
We are the duo behind Rare Label.
That's us.
That powers this podcast and also supports brands and businesses from strategy to implementation.
Yeah, we do.
You're here to go to school on our experiences or just observe. And if you like what you see, make sure you click that subscribe button. And totally feel free to hit us up to support you on any of your projects you're working on.
Yeah.
Use
the call link.
You got that call link.
Whatever you need to do. That call link is actually like low key the smartest thing to do in life.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to like see how your schedule is and how this, like, you know what your thing is. You can automatically see what's available and voila.
I'm so surprised most people don't use call links. It's like, what time you available? What time you available? What's best for you? It's just like, book the call. Here's the link. Schedule a time.
But you know what? We got to not be the people that judge people who don't use digital calendars. Like, I'm really trying to figure out,
I am judging people who don't use digital calendars, and I have valid reasons why.
Malcolm, you're a write it down kind of a guy, or you're a digital calendar? All right. Shout out to you.
Did you? In this conversation today, we are discussing what it is to bring your best collaborative self to the room and to understand that, you know, there is such thing, obviously, as collaborative energy and, how we're interacting with others, interacting up, interacting down, managing down, those things. And just to check that ego at the door, One thing that we have talked about for a while, a moment, and I hate that we have not seen this movie yet. And so now this is putting pressure on us. By the time this podcast releases, we need to have watched this movie. Yeah. The remake. So is that appropriate remake or is it?
I think the marketing language was readaptation or reimagining.
Okay. Love that. Reimagining. Love that. The color purple is what we're talking about. Yeah. So we discussed going to see this over the holiday weekend. And we actually were going to go see it a few weeks ago. Remember, we took my iMac to get fixed and we were going to go see it that day. Yeah. We ended up doing something else. So I am wondering if our hesitation around seeing the movie has anything to do with all of the stuff that has happened around it.
Maybe.
It's a classic, the casting.
How many great experiences have you had with like remakes?
I don't know that I would say I've had bad experiences with.
Okay. I wasn't as excited as I think we would have been if it were not for how the drama
played out.
And I understand the nobility in the intention of who Taraji may have been intending to
impact. The timing, though, we're assuming that our viewers and our audience has been
paying attention
to this and maybe is somewhat aware of the discrepancies, I wouldn't even say claims, but just the vocalness that specifically Taraji P. Henson had around her compensation for the role she played in The Color Purple. So just want to make sure we're all caught up. That's a bit of what we're touching on here. But to expand even further, I think you may have another point about exactly what she was or wasn't doing very well, possibly, like just sharing an opinion on that.
I think the compensation was like overall, not necessarily specific to that movie. I don't think she divulged what she made or didn't.
We're not talking about exactly what happened with that movie.
Right.
We're expanding on when you are in a part of a large studio production or organization or a team, a large project.
That's right.
A large project like that. How do you show up as your best creative self, whether you are the production CEO or the director down to, the camera operator or actress, like what role you play in that and how all of that affects how the consumers are going to feel about. Yes.
That's right. When you are choosing to speak up about something that may put a spotlight on somebody, Oprah in this instance, potentially for underperforming. And because the narrative got derailed, how do you reconcile with what you could have possibly done, differently?
Enough of that. How would you say we should show up as our best collaborative self and bring our best collaborative energy to the rooms that we're in?
The reality is that we all really just want to get our shit off. We want to see that thing play out and see ourselves and our names in lights, right? The truth is that we all got different ways of getting there. And like, that's the thing to really attack or pay attention to, because you may be a player who makes everybody feel comfortable so that you disarm them and then they, kind of move to your will. Mm-hmm. It's just a strategy. There may be people who move like bulldozers and like, push people around and bully. That's a strategy as well. So at the end of the day, it's not lost on me that we all want to really just do our thing, like get our shit off.
Totally get that. And that's a great way to frame that, because we do all have our own ideas and we all want to succeed in bringing those to life with the team. So I definitely understand that, but how can we figure out how to put that aside sometimes for the greater good, because there is other people involved. And sometimes as a business or an organization, you have a goal that doesn't matter not if it's your idea.
That's right. I think it's first important to reconcile with the idea that it's okay to try to get your shit off. That's important for you to be able to say like, yo, I came here to be a contributor, to be a real participant in the end result with this.
That's
thing.
Okay to be part of your motivation.
Yeah, man. You better bring that or you're not going to be of any value. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to kind of highlight, because otherwise you're just going to bury yourself. You're going to hide. You're not going to do what you came to do at all. You're not going to speak up when there's a moment or fight for something that you feel like is the right thing. You don't want passive players. You want strategic players, of course, that are mindful enough, which is the part of this that I think is of value, because you can't decide that what is best for you is best for the crew, or what's best for you is best for the end result, the project.
Yeah.
And so at the topmost concept or the topmost of your mind, it has to be about, how do I make sure that what I'm putting forth, how I show up, is the best thing for the end project, which is precisely what the Taraji comparison is for. Like, in that pursuit or in that set of choices, was it the right thing to do for the project? Mm-hmm. Is it the right thing to do for women? Yes, absolutely, 1000%. But is it potentially in conflict with the end result of the project? Maybe.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think being a good collaborator too, you're wanting to make sure that you're informed about the rest of the team and all of those things that are at stake, and, not just looking at things through your own lens. Mm-hmm. And so being really up to speed on what everybody brings to the table, that's going to help you understand, okay, this department or this team over here, this person, this creator needs this, they need this type of support. I can help them here, right? That's building trust. It's trust building. And like, we do all of those kind of, activities when we are on a new team. Like, we're trying to figure out who our allies are, or who we're really going to mesh well with. So understanding everybody's role is equally as important, because if something breaks, a lot of other things, it's a domino effect.
Yeah.
And I think on a production, just bringing it back to that once more, having clarity on all of that could help someone to make a better decision on how they want to show up as a collaborator. And, I definitely think that we all have stories where we've prioritized our voice over what was best for the project, absolutely. And there are times where that needs to happen, and, want to be careful to not say we believe, or Rashad, I don't think you believe that Taraji did or did not make a right or wrong decision or good or bad decision. It's just like, okay, this is what happened. And we're kind of dissecting that a bit, but flipping that into, well, when that situation comes up in real life, on real, not that is real, but in our lives, and we come across something like that where we're having to decide, okay, this over here is for the greater good, or this over here is for the project. Like, how do I want to express myself here? I'm still a collaborator. My reputation is still on the line. What do I choose? Yeah.
I think it's a little bit easier to sort this kind of thing in sports, because you can say at the end of the day, you make the winning basketball player, you make the winning football play. Like, you do what's best for the team. And it's very clear. When you're in the star making business and all of those different things, those individual sports that have some collaboration at the end, because you hear like, and again, it's not our space, right? We're not actors, but we hear moments about being in scene with somebody and that being a generous scene partner, or somebody looking to kill you in a scene. Like, these are all different ways that people approach that work, right? And even in basketball, which we do know quite a bit more about, there are players who are just like, yo, I'm going to get mine. But we would automatically say that that player isn't a winning player. They don't they're not a winning basketball player, right? That style of that approach doesn't lead to wins, right? So with that in mind, I mean, we've both been in scenarios where we have to perform for teams, lead teams, be good teammates, and all the rest of that. How does Jordan see herself as a collaborator?
That's tough, because I've collaborated in a few different spaces, and I've definitely made some mistakes on not being the best collaborator. And my earliest memories of that would be being a teammate, playing sports, and always being in a leadership role, being the point guard. That was the only position that I ever played. I played other sports, but just obviously basketball was like the thing. And always having to know everybody's role was something that I wouldn't even say naturally, because I don't know, I was so young, but something that I just had to do. I had to know all the plays. I had to be prepared when we came to practice, because I was leading our warm up or stretches, or, you know, communicating with the coach, and, you know, staying after to review whatever, just always available.
Were you a friendly, or were you like in conflict with some people? Like, how did you go about it? Were you pushy?
I was no nonsense. I would say that. It was a priority to me, and I felt like I was giving 110% every time I stepped out on the court. So when there were moments, or even just in practice, like, it didn't have to always be a game situation. When there were moments that I felt like people weren't as serious, and I think that this has carried over into the creative space sometimes, it's like, yo, championship is on the line. Like, I know that right now, in this very second, this very moment, we're preparing for something that's months away. We don't know who the team is we're going to see. We don't know what injuries we are or are not going to be up against. Everybody needs to be prepared. So while we're not taking like our free throw, whatever exercise serious, or we're not making our sprints, I'm already seeing it down the line as it's going to be a breakdown in a game, maybe when it matters. And we can't get that back.
Well, you actually just teleported yourself back to that time.
Yeah, I used to get PO'd when people wouldn't make their sprints. I'm like, bro, we keep having to get on the line.
You was like, yo, that's ridiculous. Like,
we have to keep getting on the line to run for you, because you can't just make the sprint. Like, we do these suicides all the time. I don't need to do no more suicides than what we supposed to do for conditioning. So
I think about those types of environments, and I go, well, how can it be any different? Because those scenarios really prepare you for wartime, right? Practices in that way. So it's hard to like imagine the utility of varsity or collegiate basketball or professional basketball practice in preparation for games versus like being in a boardroom or a suite and all the rest of it. Although the clarity that what we do today will either set us up for success or failure in the future, that part is the same in both scenarios. Mm-hmm. But the behavior sometimes is much different because the interaction plays out over a longer period of time. Meaning, if I say something to you crazy in a meeting, you take it home, right? We may have a, energy tussle for some days. If I curse you out for missing a sprint, we forget about it by the end of the practice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think that you've asked that question, that was my, okay, now that you're in this professional world, you're an adult now, the same collaborator and teammate that you were at a high level playing high, Division I basketball is not the same collaborator you need to be in a creative squad when you're sandboxing ideas or when you're creating graphics or something. You're working with clients. It's not the same at all. So what are the good things that I can take from that and how I am naturally a leader, whatever that means, because just, when you're nudged into certain roles, it's just that's kind of who you become.
Yeah.
But how can I transport the things that worked well, but not feel like that type of collaborative energy that I needed back then to be a athlete is the same.
I want to add one other point too, just to kind of to handshake with the previous concept. There's a feedback loop that's really fast, and the faster your feedback loop in the professional space, the more like quick your team is going to be to both rebound, recover, and get to the goods. When the feedback loop is allowed to be long, meaning you can share something with somebody, give somebody a critique, and they got either before your critique is delivered and their response to critique, that time frame is where all of the problems actually exist. Because new things will come online, new opportunities may come online in between that cycle. And again, in a basketball or in a professional sports environment, that loop is short. But no matter what, the shorter the loop, the better the organization.
Bar. How about you and your collaborative energy?
I don't think I've been a bully. I don't think that's my energy. I think I can be forceful. I think I can be very forceful. Yeah, intense. But bully is different.
And I wouldn't say demanding.
Yeah.
But
I'm just like, raise to this level. Nope, this is the level. Nope, this is the level. Like insistent.
Yeah.
Will is what I would say, like especially in sports environments.
Yeah.
So I can will a large group of people to different results, as my history shown, because I'm not necessarily flinching when there's a challenge. And so I think that gives people around me I can't be flinching. Like, he's smaller than me, or like whatever their comparison is from their body or how they see themselves by comparison, it normalizes what is on the table. Because I'm not extraordinary at all, right? And when you are watching that and we're from the same place or we have the same resources and you're watching me do more potentially with less, it really forces you to up your game.
It's definitely hard in that scenario to not show up. But has there been times where that's not worked out? Even though
people don't necessarily want to be in that energy long term.
Tell me about it.
So it's like, maybe you don't know what you signed up for or who you're in the room with, but I'm probably going to be the hardest working person. And it's not always inspiring. It can be a mirror that's uncomfortable. But because I'm trying to win, like the big thing, like I'm trying to get to the big thing, I take it on the chin when I'm failing and I realize that my personality type or my approach, it just ain't for everybody. And, but I think because I'm leading with love, I love myself as a collaborator. And I ain't finna take no talk back. But I think at the end of the day, if it's not for you, I respect it. But it's hard for me to look down at myself and be like, no, like you're hard to work with and all the rest of that. I'm going, have you worked with anybody else? Because I'm certain that they are, by comparison, much more difficult to deal with. Because I'm going to respond to your text or your email. I'm going to give you my best, and I'm never going to be upset with you for your failure. I'm going to push you to be your best, but I'm also open to you telling me that I didn't do very well. Doesn't really matter to me. I just want to win.
Yeah.
And perhaps, again, it just ain't your cup of tea, but that don't mean I'm not dope. So I'm not tripping.
So do you have pointers for being a better collaborator, or just reflecting on how you collaborate and exploring that a little bit better so you can become that best collaborator for whatever team you're on?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a gem you want to drop there?
I got two things that I think are most important for this. Just two things that everybody should keep front and center. Number one, show up as your full, authentic dog self and put your energy out front, where you display what you're capable of and what value you bring to that organization. So sometimes people say, like, check your ego at the door. No, bring your whole ego in the door, right? Mm-hmm. Sit it on the table and let everybody bask at the glory of how much persona, how much energy, how much aura you got. Put that out there. Don't dim. The second thing is tether or align what it is that you bring, your gifts and your ability, to a great end result, a big bottom line, which is whatever the team is there to accomplish. You are only in a team environment to be a contributor to the team, not to just be a star, especially at the expense of the project. Mm-hmm. Going in as your full self will avoid you being, your energy being lost at the expense of somebody else who plays small. Those two things sometimes are really difficult. I've lost so many times personally by being and playing smaller to other people who could not raise their level or raise their game. And what I realized over time is, by playing bigger and deciding that that's what I'm going to be, they have a choice. They have a choice to raise it or not. But at the end of the day, once you establish where you are, you're only going to attract bigger winners who are going to say, you know what? I show up big. You show up big. Now we accomplish something even bigger.
Yeah. I don't know how to top that.
You can.
That's crazy.
You probably will.
So bring your ego through the door.
Yeah.
Don't check it.
Yeah. If it's a gorilla, bring it. If it's a dog, bring it. Whatever it is, bring it, sit on the table. If it barks, if it bites, that is what it is.
Yeah. And number two was to
connect to the big goal, which is the project. Line. Yes. So you're not there to serve anything except the project.
I love that. I would say I have more of a general suggestion, and then something that is a little bit managing across, because at any given time we're working, you're managing up, you're managing down, you've heard these terms. And what that looks like, especially when you're managing up, it can be intrepidating, but a lot of times that person ahead of you, I don't even want to say above you, but ahead of you they really need that, because they don't have that person to tell them yes or no, or to keep it real. So be that person that keeps it real, because that's something that few people do. Yes. That's kind of like a bonus right there. Keep it real with everybody. But I would say something that's really important to me as someone who's been in a leadership role is your preparation for the meetings, the gathering, the time that you do spend in the same room or on the same Zoom call or Google Hangouts, wherever y'all are meeting. Come to that prepared. Come to that with the ability to, I don't know, depending on your role, the ability to take notes, the ability to share your screen, something as simple as, being prepared to have your screen shared.
That's right.
Being in a place where you're not distracted, where the audio is good, like all of these things that, sometimes it's not always going to be perfect either. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we got to take a call and we're in an Uber or something like that. But coming prepared to a meeting and having understood or reviewed why the meeting's happening, because someone should have sent you that anyways. And if you're the leader, you should be the one. That's how you collaborate in a meeting, is by getting in front of that. Hey, this is why we're coming together tomorrow or the next week or whatever that looks like. This is our agenda. This is how much time we have to go through these things. These are the decisions that we're making during this meeting. I don't know if this is still relevant anymore because we're all taking so many meetings and doing so. I think we've all gotten better at taking meetings, especially virtual meetings, but I just have to run it in the ground, like come prepared to your meeting however possible.
Yeah.
At least be ready to listen or take notes and be ready to use your voice and have an idea, have a thought.
You've really forced me into a lot of improvement around leading meetings and how to both prepare for them personally and prepare the person on the other side. Because that's the other thing that sometimes, that's what I was doing a terrible job at. I was always prepared to present my thing and very in my own, but I didn't understand. This is what I worked on. Yeah, I didn't understand my responsibility to communicate the intention of the meeting and then pass along not just an agenda, but here are the full set of notes. Here are the things to be prepared for. If you have a contribution to this, here's what your contribution needs to look like, and make sure that I'm actually really setting the table. Because before, again, it was my presentation show in front of a room. And that is not what a meeting is. Yeah. People have to know what they needed to review or what they can expect to be asked. It's so hard, especially when we're doing creative work, to get on the phone with somebody and be like, hey, what do you think about this? And they never saw it before. And they're like, I need time to process. I'm seeing this for the first time. And so, meetings are something, y'all, if you ever want to talk about how to lead a meeting, I'm excited to get into that conversation at any time. It's a really big thing.
Because I remember years ago when, let's work. You would see somebody out in the streets and they like, let's work, let's collab, let's do something, let's get together. And you got together and you just ended up talking and shooting the shit. And it started to get to the point where so many people wanted to pick your brain, just get on a call. Let's hop on a call. All of these are red flags. Yeah. Like, I don't know if this is ringing bells for anybody, and everybody's been told this at some point probably, but it is not the way to go about things. If you're coming to someone with an idea, or, you want your team to gather for a meeting, know what the objective is or the intention, know what you're asking of other people, prepare them, because that's just, you're going to be able to get work done faster.
That's right.
Okay. That's the first thing that I had. The second thing real quick is when you're managing across, so we're talking about like the client contractor relationship, as a client, I think it's important to really have done your research, knowing your roles, knowing what the contractor really should be doing, and not doing from a micromanaging standpoint, like the scope of work, but understanding, okay, I'm working with a designer that does such and such, or a developer that does such and such, and just starting to make sure you're familiar with what their industry and what their day might look like. That's really specific, but just what their challenges might look like with your project. Yeah.
Their day-to-day is probably as important as that, like what it looks like to be in their shoes.
Yeah. I think that is something that is really underrated, the client contractor relationship and how the client should interact as a collaborator. Now the contractors, that's a whole nother conversation. Like, we obviously can talk about that too, but as a client, if you're a client, you've hired someone to do something for you, just empathize with what they might be up against, because sometimes we think that creative professionals just pull it out their ass and put it in front of you and send you the files. And it's just not that simple. So those are my two things. And
very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
I'm really excited to get more into these types of conversations, whether that's, I'm hinting now, YouTube Live, whether that's some workshops that we're going to get in front of you all. But we hope that you enjoyed this conversation. Let us know in the comments how you are as a collaborator, who you've learned from, scenarios you've learned from. If you I know you probably don't want to type a whole bunch in a comment, but let us know if you got your collaborative energy together or what you're working on. And if you want to book a call with one of us, that is in the show description. If you want to visit our website, check out our capabilities deck, work with us as an agency, that's all available to you.
That's right.
Anyways, but we'll see you next time.
We will. Stay sharp, everybody.